defended their home court against the Jazz to even the series at 2. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George each scored 31 points. And say goodbye to cutout fans because for the first time in almost 2 years, Dodger Stadium returns to full capacity today. The Dodgers edge the Phillies. I'm Misty George.
What's the difference between an AMG skeptic and an AMG believer? A split second. The time it takes to fire up the ignition, step on the gas, and hear that gutsy engine roar. Go to MBUSA.com/AMG. Mercedes-AMG driving performance.
Rick Edelman, #1 New York Times best-selling author and founder of Edelman Financial Engines, takes questions on his radio show.
Hi, Rick. I have a pension and can take it as monthly income or a lump sum. Which do you think is better?
Well, the monthly check is only as safe as your employer's ability to pay it. And the amount will never rise, so inflation will erode its value. You have no access to the principal, and when you die, the money stops, even if you die tomorrow. So we usually recommend the lump sum. You get to invest the money however you want and generate your own income. You have full access anytime, and whatever's left over goes to your spouse or kids. But for some workers, the monthly option is better, so you should meet with a financial advisor to be sure that you're doing what's best for you.
That's Rick Edelman, founder of Edelman Financial Engines, with his advice on pensions. If you have a personal finance question, talk to an experienced financial planner at 888-PLAN-RICK or visit rickedelman.com.
Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Imagine you're at the wheel of a plug-in hybrid. No, imagine yourself in a plug-in hybrid BMW. Imagine that this vehicle features dynamic performance with an all-electric range long enough for local trips. And you'll get there quicker with access to the HOV lane. The BMW 330e, X3, X-Drive 30e, and X5, X-Drive 45e plug-in hybrids. Range, power, and performance that you unplug to unleash.
See a SoCal BMW Center today for exceptional offers or visit SoCalBMW.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
If high ping takes you from first place to last place, you're not a bad gamer. You just need better internet. Get AT&T Fiber and get a ping rate under 11 milliseconds and unlimited data. With 20 times faster upload speeds, AT&T Fiber delivers a faster internet experience than cable. Limited availability in select areas. Call 1-877-ONLY-ATT. Speed comparison based on AT&T Internet 1000 wired upload connection speed versus major cable providers 1 gig service with uploads of 35 megabits per second. Speeds vary, not guaranteed. Restrictions apply.
Every time the sun shines in Southern California, which is all the time, I remember how much money I saved thanks to SolarMax technology.
How much have you saved since you switched?
Let's just say that my energy bills are so low now that I am no longer the thermostat warrior in my house. My AC is practically free.
Your family must be thrilled.
Oh yeah, the family's thrilled. Listen, I'm thrilled. I have saved with no upfront cost. SolarMax does everything themselves right here in Southern California, and that means exceptional quality control and no middleman.
Right now, get SolarMax for only $69.98 a month, which includes a solar panel system and home battery with an APR as low as 0.99%.
This offer will expire, though, on June 30th. Call pound 250 from your cell phone and say the keyword SolarMax. That's pound 250 SolarMax. Or go to SolarMaxTech.com, SolarMaxTech.com. Monthly payment available on approved credit, CSLB number 97204.
It is time to embrace all these names, these terms. I'm a NIMBY.
Have shatter from the rooftop. Not in my backyard.
I don't want to live with meth addicts. Period.
Not across the street, not next door, not within 10 miles of them.
You have every right to a nice neighborhood. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to defend it.
John and Ken, weekdays at 2.
You earned it. It's yours.
On KFI.
No need to imagine. Baby, all I'm asking is let me take you dancing. Like that.
Your Tuesday morning. I'm Layla Muhammad in for Jennifer Jones-Lee. Here are some stories we're staying on top of. Restrictions lifted. Most of California's COVID-19 restrictions are gone bye-bye. As of this morning, no more social distancing. Capacity limits are out the door. And most mask mandates of some public places and spaces you still are required. Packing up and leaving, researchers say California was one of the top states that people were trying to move from last year. At 5:35, was it nature-based or a lab leak? We are unraveling that debate over the origins of COVID-19, talking with ABC's Aaron Katersky. But right now, let's say good morning to Jim Ryan.
Good morning, Layla.
Good morning. You know, we've been talking a lot about cybersecurity, ransomware attacks specifically. And so it's interesting to see, you know, how companies have a new need or an increased need for some of these specialists. So what are you finding?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can break it down fairly specifically to different regions. For example, in the Los Angeles area, you've got something like 17,000 job openings in the cybersecurity realm. And these jobs can pay easily over $100,000 if you have the right kind of training. So increasingly, kids leaving high school are going down that career path, either taking courses in college to get them ready for a cybersecurity career, or going into specialized training at proprietary schools and earning certificates that can land in those jobs. It's a clearly defined career path. You start out in networking, for example, then you go into cyber crime analysis, then cybersecurity consultancy, and then cybersecurity engineer. And at that point, you're making $115,000, $120,000 a year.
Okay, so there are plenty of jobs. You heard that, 17,000 in the LA area in this field. So what sort of background do you need? You talked about the path you can take, but what kind of educational background or experience do you need?
Well, you know, for a lot of these jobs, you have to have your college degree, your basic college degree. There are advanced degree programs in master's programs or even PhD programs. And of course, as with any career course, the greater your education, the higher your starting pay, and the easier it is to land these jobs. So certainly, yeah, you need to be looking at those college courses or at internships or the kind of on-the-job training that a lot of people are getting. And you know, this is a growing industry, clearly, because as you see these threats unravel, the ransomware attacks that we've seen over the last few months, that's merely an indication of how big the need is out there. It's a kind of a good news, bad news. Yeah, the cyber attacks are bad, the ransomware is an awful thing, but it also means there is that career opportunity for somebody who's willing to make a career change.
So why do you think, or what are you finding that it's such a challenge to hire cybersecurity professionals? Why do we have all these jobs open?
Well, because of that lack of training. Because it's a fairly new industry. 10, 15 years ago, if you'd asked somebody, you know, what's your career path, they might have said, well, I'm going to go into restaurant management, or I'd like to do something in graphics. Well, I think now the change is I want to do something to try to prevent the kind of ransomware attacks that are costing companies so much money, because in order to prevent that kind of loss, by the way, each of these ransomware attacks cost a company on average $170,000. Those companies are willing to pay up front to make sure that it doesn't happen.
What kind of companies are looking for cybersecurity specialists? I mean, we talk about ransomware attacks. We talked about what happened with Colonial Pipeline. We're looking at what's happening with government agencies. But who else would have a need like this?
Well, it just runs the gamut. You know, from small towns, they are the target of these things very often because they don't have the kind of malware protection in place. They don't have the security staff there to try to prevent this. So small to mid-sized communities are out there. They're looking for this sort of this person. But in terms of industry, it just runs the gamut. McDonald's was just hit with a ransomware attack. As you mentioned, Colonial Pipeline, the JBS food company, the airlines have been struck by these things. School districts across the country. So if you you name it, those people are looking for a security specialist, a cybersecurity expert. Those jobs are out there in the hundreds of thousands. Right now, there are something like 9.3 million jobs overall, and hundreds of thousands of those jobs involve cybersecurity.
And like you said, they pay very well.
They do.
All right, ABC's Jim Ryan, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Leila.
Take care. Okay, so if you're looking for a job and you feel like you fit the bill for what Jim just described, go ahead and apply. The jobs are plenty out there in the cybersecurity field. Okay, well, speaking of business, how about we get to your Biz Bites?
It's time for Biz Bites. Bites of business. Biz Bites on Wake Up Call with Bill and host name here.
A man accused of scamming thousands of U.S. Navy sailors in California has been ordered to pay $500,000 in restitution. 56-year-old Paul Flanagan was also sentenced yesterday to house arrest. He owned a business called Go Navy Tax Services outside of Naval Base San Diego. The DA's office says he sold expensive and unnecessary products to unsuspecting service members, ultimately racking up more than $2 million in commissions for nearly 5,000 life insurance applications and contracts. The Treasury Department and IRS have unveiled an online tool that helps families register for the expanded monthly child tax credit. The first checks are expected to go out to more than 36 million eligible families next month. The new portal can also help people who did not receive but are qualified for the stimulus checks passed as part of the COVID-19 relief since early last year. Starting July 15th, families with children under the age of 6 are set to receive payment of $300 a month through the end of the year for each child, while those with children ages 6 to 17 will receive payments of $250 a month. The 2021 child tax credit was also expanded to include low-income families who are otherwise earning too little to pay taxes. The new portal allows those families who might not otherwise be in the system for filing tax returns to provide information to the IRS to get payments. Philips has recalled up to 4 million of its sleep apnea machines and ventilators over concerns that a foam component may disintegrate and be inhaled by the user. The problem could possibly cause health issues, including toxic and carcinogenic effects. The products impacted by the recall include specific Philips bi-level positive airway pressure, continuous positive airway pressure, and mechanical ventilator devices. Those who are using the impacted bi-level PAP and CPAP devices are advised to discontinue using them and talk with a doctor. A major mall owner of more than 100 locations across the U.S. has filed for bankruptcy. Washington Prime Group, which is based in Columbus, Ohio, cited the COVID-19 shutdowns as the reason. Temporary closures and relaxation of rent to some of its tenants fueled the bankruptcy. Washington Prime said it's using Chapter 11 to restructure and pay down its nearly $1 billion in debt. Fashion brand H&M is reporting a surge in sales, both online and in stores, as pandemic restrictions ease in many of the company's markets. The world's second biggest fashion retailer says sales from March to May were up 62% over the same period last year, but H&M still hasn't gotten back to where it was before the pandemic. Compared to 2019, sales were down 19% as stores stayed closed in France and Germany, and foot traffic was slow in stores that were open. Girl Scouts troops have been stuck with a stockpile of unsold cookies. Around 15 million boxes of cookies were left over from the selling season. Girl Scouts of the USA says about 12 million of those boxes are still with the two businesses that bake the cookies. Many troops had to ditch plans for their in-person traditional cookie booths for COVID-19 safety reasons. Local councils and troops depend on those cookie sales to fund programming, travel, camps, and other activities. Those councils and bakers are now trying to sell or donate the boxes that are left over. The cookies, by the way, have a 12-month shelf life on average. And those are your Biz Bites on this Tuesday morning. Well, now I want some Girl Scout cookies. The Thin Mints. Yep. You know, I don't even have to say anything else. The Thin Mints. Yep. Well, researchers say California was one of the top states that people were trying to move from last year. Data from the North American Moving Services Company says there were also a lot of folks leaving Illinois, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland. The top relocation destinations for last year were Idaho, Arizona, Tennessee, South Carolina, and North Carolina. Let's head back to a few more stories we're following in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. An upcoming large mammal project at the OC Zoo will include a plaque dedicated to a young boy who was killed in a road rage shooting.
This is a place that Aiden came with mom and dad and sister.
Family spokeswoman Carla Lacey says the plaque is a way for 6-year-old Aiden Leos to live on.
There's some pictures that were shown in the slideshow at the memorial service of him being here by the mountain lion exhibit and feeding the little goats and things like that. So it's a very special place.
A murder charge has been filed against the man tied to the shooting from last month on the 55 freeway. The plaque is expected to be completed by early next year. At the OC Zoo, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
A hostel in Mid-Wilshire has become a flashpoint for one street in the neighborhood. Ron Wiggins says the clientele staying at the hostel on South Orange Drive has changed as international travel stopped with the pandemic.
There seems to be a level of drug dealing and gang activity, things like of that nature, that they're renting to.
The neighbors argue the hostel has always operated illegally and that when the city has taken action, it has simply changed its name and changed the locks. A grocery store clerk has been shot dead near Atlanta when he got into an argument with a customer about a mask. Witness George Scott, says that he got down when he heard the first shot.
One shot, then I heard several other shots after that.
Authorities say a 30-year-old man argued with the cashier about not wearing a mask. They say he left the store, then came back with a gun. That person is now in custody. When we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Aaron Katersky about the debate over the origins of COVID-19. Right now, let's take a look at your drive. We have some trouble on are we still on the 60, Robin?
Yeah, we're actually getting better on the 60. We're going to go to Diamond Bar, and the 60 westbound to Fort Grand. We're clearing the lanes now on the 60 westbound. A little bit of slowing from the 57 here. Had the right lane blocked for just a little bit. In Artesia, 91 eastbound before Pioneer, same kind of deal. They're clearing the crash here. That was an overturned car that went over the side. Corona on the 15 southbound just before the 91. Motorcyclist up against the center divider and a truck on the right shoulder. And see if you just arrived on this one. So it's still going to be a little bit slow for you on the main lines with that visual hazard. South LA on the 105 west connector to the 110 northbound. Hearing there may be a fire on the left side of that transition, maybe an encampment fire. Studio City 101 south at the 134 eastbound. A large tree branch across the number 1 lane, the left lane. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Beck.
I know you've seen all those great home loans being advertised, but you're probably not sure if you qualify. Or maybe you've been told, nope, you can't get that low rate. Well, I bet you haven't called IntelliLoan. Right now, IntelliLoan has a 1.99% rate in APR with no points or lender fees for SoCal residents, and this is even if your credit score is as low as 620. It's a 1.99% rate in APR with no points and no lender fees. And you've heard me talk about Daryl, the owner of IntelliLoan. He's got a team of home loan specialists that really want to make this home loan process not suck. They want to make it as hassle-free as possible for you. So call IntelliLoan today at 1-800-918-6200. That's 1-800-918-6200, or just go to IntelliLoan.com.
Rates subject to change without notice. Minimum loan amount requirements apply. 60% loan to value and 620 FICO credit score. Certain restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. NMLS 3290. Loans made or arranged pursuant to a California Finance Lenders Law license number 6036970. Equal housing lender. IntelliLoan. Borrow smart.
SoCal weather from KFI. The heat is on. Sunny skies for your Tuesday, but highs in the triple digits for the valleys, the Inland Empire, and the High Desert. Around 106 we're talking today. Woo! Upper 90s for the LA Basin and Inland OC. Upper 80s along the coast. Low 90s in the mountains. We lead local. From KFI's 24-hour newsroom, I'm Layla Muhammad.
Hi, Greg Hughes here with Hughes Private Capital. Our company offers real estate investment options for you that are built on cash flow, are free of landlord hassles and expenses, and produce the same predictable, consistent return month after month. How do we do that? When you invest with us, you're part of a diversified, secured portfolio of over 1,000 homes in 5 cities and 3 states. And with today's interest rates being so low, now is the time to use leverage with your Hughes Capital investment and earn a 17% return. And one of the best ways to invest with Hughes Private Capital is through a 1031 exchange, where you can sell your investment property, pay no taxes, and never worry about landlord hassles or expenses again. Plus, remember, real estate is one of the most tax-efficient investments out there. We find most investors don't pay taxes for the first 9 years of their investment with us. To find out more, go to steadyinvestmentreturn.com. That's steadyinvestmentreturn.com. Or call us at 888-300-5353. That's 888-300-5353.
Getting families vaccinated against COVID-19 is an important step to bringing back joy for all of us. That's within reach now that the Pfizer vaccine is proven safe and effective for those 12 and older. This is the same vaccine millions of Californians have already gotten. California is even adding new vaccine clinics specifically for young people. Together, we can end the pandemic. Visit vaccinateall58.com or call 833-422-4255 to learn more. Not to be a backseat driver, but if you need to hire great people fast, you need Indeed. Sponsor a job and you'll immediately get a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. More at Indeed.com/credit.
If you're like me, you can't wait to travel, but a lot of destinations want a negative COVID-19 test. That's where COVID Clinic comes in. COVID Clinic has 1-hour COVID-19 PCR tests to travel to almost anywhere in the world. They'll even help with your travel documentation. Make your trip prep easy by doing your COVID-19 testing at one of the many fast and even drive-through COVID Clinic locations near you. So whether you need a COVID-19 PCR test for travel, school, or you just want an antigen test, go to covidclinic.org. Restrictions apply. Go to covidclinic.org.
American Vision Windows, SoCal's choice for energy-efficient windows and doors. AmericanVisionWindows.com.
KFI AM 640.
iHeart radio station.
24-hour news. More stimulating talk.
Wake up call on this Tuesday morning. I'm Layla Muhammad in for Jennifer Jones-Lee. Here are some stories we're following this morning. A producer for a California porn site has been sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for tricking women into appearing in sex videos. Plus, the state has reopened, and Governor Newsom has indicated he's going to be taking some action to loosen masking rules in the workplace. The Cal OSHA board will be voting on updated mask guidelines for the workplace on Thursday. At 5:55, why it might be a good time to be a teenager looking for a job. Yes, teens, you'll be in high demand this summer for work. And that is a good thing, because when I was looking for work as a teenager, it wasn't so easy. Right now, though, at 5:36, let's say good morning to Aaron Katursky. You are covering a very interesting topic this morning, because I feel like we've been going back and forth over this since the beginning of the pandemic. Where did the virus originate?
Yeah, it's probably the most enduring mystery of our time right now, Layla, because the prevailing theory at the outset was it was a naturally occurring phenomenon from animals to humans, and that still seems to be the prevailing theory. But a number of scientists who had promulgated that theory are now saying at least worth doing some investigating as to whether the virus leaked out of a lab in Wuhan, China. That there's just not enough evidence to be certain of the animal-human thing, and even though it was largely dismissed early in the pandemic, now the same scientists say this lab leak theory is worth considering.
Why now? Why wasn't it something that was pursued earlier on, a lot, more fiercely?
Well, at first they just didn't seem to believe it, and a lot of it had to do with President Trump's rhetoric. He was seen as having an anti-Asian bias with some of his rhetoric around the virus, and the lab leak theory seemed to just be more of that. Now, though, as scientists have taken a different look, the U.S. has concluded there are, these are viable theories. There's no lab leak, and with Trump out of office and the rhetoric, a little subsided, that they think they can take a more dispassionate look at it and try to figure out whether they have enough evidence to say either way. Right now they don't, because there does not seem to be an animal that they pinpointed as the origin. They also don't have enough evidence to say for sure that it came out of a lab, but they do have some clues, including this virology lab in Wuhan that does some controversial research about, teaching a virus effectively how to infect humans, which they do so they can then study how to prevent it. If it leaked out, though, we didn't know how to prevent it before it leaked out.
How open has the Chinese government been in terms of allowing access, for researchers to do this investigation?
Not at all, and this is part of the problem, and why we may never really know anytime soon. The Chinese have resisted the notion that the virus is their responsibility or problem, or that it was any kind of shoddy practice at the lab. They will not allow scientists in to do research, and in fact, the former director of the CDC, Robert Redfield, has said that his greatest regret is not pushing harder to get U.S. scientists into China. There might have been some leverage the U.S. could bring to bear against the Chinese, and they didn't do it. And Dr. Redfield had said that he should have.
So what happens now?
Well, we're not really sure. They'll look for evidence where they can find it, but ultimately, it may be up to the Chinese to be more forthcoming. And there's a push by the World Health Organization to try and get China to open up. No one's necessarily saying that this was an intentional lab leak, that, if the virus was weaponized. That has been a prevailing theory among some conservatives. But there is a more real possibility that scientists consider safety practices and that this was human error. No one wants to take responsibility for that in China right now. But if that's the case, it's something that scientists would want to know.
Yeah, I feel like everyone, all of us who have been at home for the last year, become our own versions of experts, trying to figure out how it leaked and who did what. And there was even a researcher. I think she was known as, was it Batwoman, a researcher out of that lab who had early on thought it was possibly a leak from their lab.
Well, she is the sort of the ground zero researcher, and she's the only one who's issued any kind of statement out of the lab. But no one is quite sure whether you can trust that statement or whether it was coerced by the Chinese. And so I think a lot of experts are coming around to the idea that, maybe, her word, which is what it's all based on, isn't enough.
Okay, another story you've been following, too, is the fight against domestic violent extremism. What is the latest with the Biden administration's plan?
Right, so this came out in just an hour or two ago. We had a look from the National Security Council about what they're calling a new national strategy to combat domestic terrorism. And I think it's notable in that the administration is taking an approach at all. I mean, that seems to be the biggest difference from the last administration. This acknowledges extreme sides of the political spectrum. And it says that there needs to be better information sharing. They need to try and get some of this extremist literature, the internet, and try to stop foreign influence campaigns, because we know that no matter the ideology, that Russia or other foreign adversaries would try to stoke the flames of these extremist views online in order to sow opposition in the United States.
So this was part of the president's executive order right after he took office.
Yeah, he had said that he wanted a kind of 100-day review of what to do about domestic terrorism. Of course, he said in the afterglow of the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, and January 6th is mentioned, but only briefly by name. But I think some of the ideas to combat domestic terrorism stem from it. We know the FBI and the Capitol Police were not on the same page that day. So information sharing is a big part of this new strategy, and so is teaching local law enforcement how to recognize, the radicalization. They also want to scrub the federal employee roles of any kind of extremists. So anyone in the military, anyone who works for the government, they'd like to try and, do a background check to weed them out.
Well, as you said, the report just came out, so we appreciate you giving us a little look at what's in that report. ABC's Aaron Katursky, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Lila.
Have a great day. All right, let's take a look at some more stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The fire departments of LA County, Orange County, and Ventura County are bringing in the big guns for wildfire season.
Well, big helicopters to be exact. The three departments have entered into a first-of-its-kind agreement to lease the world's largest helitankers from Coulson Aviation in Canada.
This is the future of aerial firefighting.
Brian Fennessy is the chief of the Orange County Fire Authority. It was his idea to bring in the very large air tankers, or VLATs for short. The air power is partially funded by SoCal Edison. He and the other chiefs have created the Regional Quick Reaction Force, or QRF, which bypasses typical red tape to deploy resources.
Quick Reaction Force is a military term meaning to rapidly respond to escalating situations that require speed and force. That's exactly what we need to battle wildfire.
A 3,000-gallon Chinook will be in L.A. and O.C. A 1,000-gallon Sikorsky will be staged in Ventura County. From the Los Alamitos Air Base, Steve Gregory, KFI News.
And you can hear more about fire readiness this Sunday at 4 p.m. when KFI News presents A Season of Fire, hosted by Steve Gregory. The National Weather Service has issued excessive heat warnings starting this morning through tomorrow night. Areas affected include the Santa Monica Mountains and San Fernando, San Gabriel, and Santa Clarita Valleys. The service says there is also an excessive heat warning from today through Friday night in the Antelope Valley, as well as the Santa Ana Mountains and foothills in Orange County. Officials say the hot, dry conditions could put a strain on the power grid and cause any brush fires to spread quickly. Cooling centers have been set up in parts of LA to help people deal with the extreme heat this week. The centers will be open starting today, and they'll also stay open through Sunday. Some of those cooling center locations are in Canoga Park, Sherman Oaks, and South LA. Southwest Airlines flights departing from the Hollywood Burbank Airport are back on schedule. The airline says flights around the country had to be put on hold as a precaution last night because of a network problem with getting weather information, which is required to fly. And a couple of stories I'm also looking at. Masks no longer required for fully vaccinated Disneyland guests. So we're talking about mask rules being lifted in Orlando, but this is starting today here in Disneyland. Fully vaccinated guests will no longer be required to wear face coverings indoors or outdoors, the resort announced. And this is because, as we've been saying, the economy here in California is fully reopening today. Guests will also not be required to show proof of vaccination at Disneyland. Instead, visitors will self-attest. So it's the honor system that you're in compliance prior to entering. So guests ages 2 and up who are not fully vaccinated will be required to continue to wear their face coverings, except when they are dining. Also, welcoming back out-of-state visitors beginning today for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. So I guess it'll be more crowded now, which I think people like John will be sad about because they liked when the park wasn't as crowded. The CDC is suspending imports of dogs from countries with high rabies risks. This just came out. It said it will suspend the import of dogs from more than 100 countries where rabies still spread among dogs. That decision will affect dog rescue missions, imports from dog breeders, and people who are bringing in pets. Bats, which are the source of many viruses, could be the origin of, we've been talking about the origin of what could have caused COVID-19. So the CDC is saying that the lack of quarantining and dogs safely and 3 recent incidents of infected dogs that were brought into the country are the reasons behind the suspension. And they're just trying to make sure the dogs are healthy and safe, and that when they're bringing them here in the U.S., they're protecting the public and keeping everybody safe from rabies. I hope I made some sense there. Probably not. But it's early, and that's okay. When we come back, we're talking about the stories that we just can't stop talking about, including why it might be a good time to be a teen looking for some employment. But right now, let's take a look at your drive from the Southern California Toyota Dealers Traffic Center. We make it easy. A problem on the 105?
South LA on the 105 westbound just before Central. It's a vehicle fire reported. Center Divider area. It is crowding things up right around the 710. Norwalk 605 southbound at the 105. There's a hit and run accident. Everything there over to the right shoulder. Downtown Los Angeles on the 10 west before the 110. It's conked out SUV. Right lane is blocked. Downtown Los Angeles, an encampment fire on the 10 eastbound at San Pedro Street. It's there on the right shoulder. You'll see fire there as well. And at Water Village, some kind of a traffic hazard in lanes on the 2 southbound at Fletcher. It's going to be in the second lane from the left. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
This report is sponsored by Avello Airlines.
After all the time spent in our houses this past year, the time is now to get outdoors. The all-new Avello Airlines is inspiring travel and flights starting as low as $19. Visit AvelloAir.com and choose your adventure. AvelloAir.com. Restrictions may apply. Visit AvelloAir.com for details.
The NBA is considering a rule change to limit unnatural shooting motions to draw fouls. The league wants to restrict players from leaning backwards and sideways. The Clippers defended their home court against the Jazz to even the series at 2. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George each scored 31 points and say goodbye to cutout fans because for the first time in almost 2 years, Dodger Stadium returns to full capacity today. The Dodgers edge the Phillies. I'm Misty Jordan.
Memorial Care's Joint Replacement Centers offer advanced technology, a team of specialists, and a dedicated patient navigator for an unforgettable patient experience. Personalized joint care as unique as you. Learn more at memorialcare.org/joint replacement.
Summer is here, so as the weather heats up, we start drinking and using more water at home. But don't reach for those nasty plastic water bottles. You could fill any glass or reusable bottle with filtered water coming straight from the taps in your house if you had a LifeSource Whole House water system. And a LifeSource Whole House water system reduces the odor and taste of chlorine from your water. Plus, you'll be bathing and showering in filtered water, so your hair and your skin will be free of the drying, harmful effects of chlorine. And with a LifeSource water system, you buy directly from the factory, which is right here in Southern California, where they've been serving people for over 37 years. And hey, if you're looking for a new career opportunity, LifeSource is currently looking for dedicated team members. So call LifeSource today and get full service and full confidence in your water. Call them at 1-800-334-5009. That's 1-800-334-5009. Or just visit LifeSourceWater.com. LifeSource Water. Taste and feel the difference.
Every time the sun shines in Southern California, which is all the time, I remember how much money I saved thanks to SolarMax technology.
How much have you saved since you switched?
Let's just say that my energy bills are so low now that I am no longer the thermostat warrior in my house. My AC is practically free.
Your family must be thrilled.
Oh, yeah, the family's thrilled. Listen, I'm thrilled. I have saved with no upfront cost. SolarMax does everything themselves right here in Southern California, and that means exceptional quality control and no middleman.
Right now, get SolarMax for only $69.98 a month, which includes a solar panel system and home battery with an APR as low as 0.99%.
This offer will expire, though, on June 30th. Call pound 250 from your cell phone and say the keyword SolarMax. That's pound 250 SolarMax. Or go to SolarMaxTech.com, SolarMaxTech.com. Monthly payment available on approved credit, CSLB number 97204.
Hey everybody, Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage and Rocket Companies. Last year we saw historically low mortgage interest rates. In fact, over 1 million homeowners took advantage of refinancing or buying a new home with Rocket Mortgage. What you may not know is that interest rates are already starting to increase again, and it's likely that trend is only going to continue. Our team of experts is standing by to help you save before rates go up. With an official mortgage review from Rocket Mortgage, you'll see just how much money you could save by making a move right now. Don't look back over these next few weeks and wish that you had taken action. You could save hundreds on your mortgage payments or pay off your home loan earlier than planned. You could even take cash out of your home to pay off high-interest debt, complete home repairs, or bulk up on an emergency fund. When you want to secure a low rate, Rocket can. Call 833-8-ROCKET or visit rocketmortgage.com.
Rocket. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states and NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
In 1975, my family lived under the boot of communist Russia. Hello, I'm John Akoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. Communism was so oppressive that my dad, who didn't speak a word of English, left everything behind and immigrated us to America. I was only 3 years old. I can't imagine the courage it took to do that. My father put us first, and at Rooter Hero Plumbing, we put you first. That's why we always offer you an affordable solution. If you have a clogged drain, call us at 866-DRAIN-77, and we'll cable your line for only $77. That's 866-DRAIN-77. Thank you for trusting Rooter Hero Plumbing with your most valuable asset, your home. I miss my dad, but his sacrifice will never be forgotten. Happy Father's Day.
CL
330-102-8886.
Addressing hair loss has never been easier thanks to Advanced Hair Restoration's simple one-day treatment. The most difficult part? Making the call for your free consultation. Call 844-333-HAIR and get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. AdvancedHair.com.
In 2020, our world went virtual. In 2021, it's back to real life. Experiencing the music you love in person and witnessing live performances you'll never forget. The superstars you've been waiting more than a year to see have never been more excited to perform for you. This September, our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival is coming back to Las Vegas. Be here as the lineup is unveiled tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
What the police did was just unconscionable. What I don't understand, these cops, it's always on camera now. What do they expect? These are cops that have just lost their cool.
Bill Handel, mornings from 6 to 10.
They're just over the top.
On KFI.
We'll be young forever.
Oh, John, that's the perfect song for our segment coming up. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. But first, the heat is on. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't heard, we have that excessive heat warning in effect for the coast, mountains, and valleys. Triple-digit temperatures today in the valleys and the Inland Empire. Plus, business as usual. Businesses across the state have officially returned to mostly normal operations as of 12:01 this morning, with the lifting of COVID-19 capacity limits and physical distancing requirements in California. But speaking of getting back to normal, unmasking the mask mandate may make some people uncomfortable.
COVID-19 restrictions are being lifted today, and that means masks are coming off for those fully vaccinated in most scenarios. But people fighting cancer and immune deficiencies are still encouraged to cover their faces. The Institute for Myeloma and Bone Cancer Research in West Hollywood says cancer patients doing immune-suppressing treatments and those with autoimmune diseases need to keep wearing the mask around other people even if they're vaccinated. It says healthy people shouldn't mock those wearing masks, and they should understand COVID could continue through evolving variants that may be more difficult to control. Deborah Mark, KFI News.
And Governor Newsom has indicated he will be taking action to loosen masking rules in the workplace. Newsom says that as the state reopens, it will be up to businesses to decide their own guidelines.
There's no mandated passports, but businesses can require verification. Businesses can require mask wearing. Businesses have the freedom of choice.
The Cal OSHA board will be voting on updated mask guidelines for the workplace on Thursday. It is expected that the governor will issue an executive order fast-tracking that rule change. Okay, John, can we play that song one more time? I know I'll put you on the spot.
We'll be young forever.
Oh, good times. That makes me smile so big. I don't know why. I feel like I'm in a drop top driving to the beach, driving down PCH. Okay, so here's the deal. Teenage workers are in high demand for jobs this summer. Probably not surprising to hear when we've been having stories about how a lot of these businesses say it's been hard to attract workers back. Which might change now that rules are lifting, but it's been hard to attract workers back, and a lot of folks are still getting unemployment. So, in May of last year, the national unemployment rate for teenagers was just shy of 30%. But by this May, 9.6%. And one reason is that teens are now benefiting from the difficult time that many small businesses are having trying to staff their businesses. And so, listen, if you're young and you're thinking, oh, I can only work for 2 months because I have to go off to college, still put that application in because there is a business out there who could use you for those 2 months. So it got me thinking, what was if you were a person who worked in your younger years, what was your teenage job? I'll share mine. Not that you guys care, but listen, I got time to fill. I was a bagger at the commissary when I was in high school. And it's exactly what it sounds like. The commissary is the grocery store on the military base. I grew up in a military family, so I worked at the commissary. And you worked for tips, and it was not an easy job having to bag people's groceries and then push carts to the car. I vividly remember the folks who would get like 5 carts worth, like carts, like loaded with bags, 5 and 4 carts worth of groceries, and having to haul that out to people's cars and load their cars, around their messy trunks and their pets hopping all over the back seat. But I actually genuinely love that job. It taught me hard work. It taught me how to hustle, to make my money. I worked with some really cool people who were military spouses who were from all over the world.